welcome. Hello and welcome. My name is Erin Brophy, and this is 3 tips to improve your intonation. I am the principal oboe player of the Saskatoon Symphony and a sessional lecturer at the University of Saskatchewan. We may all think that because we play the oboe, that people should tune to us. And unfortunately, as soon as we're done that tuning ritual, we are no longer in charge. We join the ensemble as an equal intonation partner. And we need to be able to adjust to other people's intonation. And how do you do that without scraping your reed? Well, thank you for joining me today. I'm going to tell you how. The reason I'm doing these live presentations is in line with my teaching philosophy, and it has a lot to do with how I got started on the instrument. I'm from a very remote place in Canada, in Northern Ontario, and where I grew up, there were no other oboe players. And it was very beautiful. I had a lovely childhood, but when I started to play the oboe, I really struggled. I struggled because I didn't have access to good information. I didn't have access to a functioning instrument. I didn't have access to functioning reeds. And there were several points in the beginning part of my journey where I really wanted to give up the instrument. I knew that I didn't sound as an oboe player should sound, but I had no idea how to change that. And it's because of this that I'm giving these presentations. I want good information to get out there. We can fast forward now. I've been teaching and performing for 20 plus years. And I realize upon reflection that my journey did not have to be that difficult. And I'd like to make it easier for others. You don't have to struggle. We have this amazing thing called the internet. So I'd like to get a lot of good information out there. I'm also the director of a program called the Oboe Path, which is an online program that uses a group online masterclass, a personalized, customized plan, and one-on-one feedback to enable an oboist to play with joy and ease. Now, the Oboe Path has broken down the steps to gaining ease into your oboe playing. With the group online masterclass, my students don't waste their practice time, and they feel very, very motivated to practice. It's a community of really lovely, like-minded oboe players, all wanting to improve. With the customized personal plan, their practice time is very efficient, and so they see the results immediately. They're able to move and improve quickly, and they're very efficient with their practice time so that playing and learning and improving on the oboe can fit into their busy lives. So, 3 tips to improve your intonation. The first tip has to do with your mindset. So when I'm teaching intonation to my students or working with a youth orchestra, I'm a clinician with the Saskatoon Youth Orchestra, I always say that the first step of intonation is to recognize that when you're playing out of tune, you're both wrong. That there's not one person who has perfect intonation. If a chord or an interval is out of tune, it's both people's and it's everyone in the ensemble's responsibility to come back together. It's a matter of finding where the other person is. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. You find where that person is and you go there. And it's a real mindset shift to think that when it's out of tune, it's my responsibility to find that intonation. It doesn't matter where you're playing. It's all a reference, right? There is no right or wrong, as much as it'd be so easy to fall into that trap. As oboe players, we spend lots of time really working with our intonation because we're working with these reeds. If you're a reed maker yourself, you know that your responsibility is to make a reed that's in tune. But once that has been, that task is finished, you are there with the reed, or if you're purchasing your reeds, you're there with a reed. Someone else has had the responsibility to provide a reed that's in tune. Once you arrive at the rehearsal, all bets are off. You need to tune to those around you. So that's tip number 1, is to really shift your mindset to taking responsibility for your own intonation. The second tip that I would like to talk to you about today is the flexibility of your embouchure. So here's the sticky wicket of it. A reed that played in tune yesterday may not play in tune today. Let me say that differently. A reed that played at a certain way yesterday is going to behave differently today. And what we need to be built into our embouchures, the way that we hold our mouths to play the instrument, is flexibility. Because our reeds change so much, and they change for many reasons. They may be old. It may be that the temperature changed from the day before. It may be that you're more tired from your rehearsal earlier in the day and now you're in the concert. There are lots of factors that are involved to making a reed feel different. And what we need to have established in our embouchure is flexibility. We need to be able to move around on the reed in such a way that we can affect the pitch, in a way that we have control. So in order to do that, we need to set up our embouchure so that we can have great flexibility in terms of where we can place the pitch. Let me show you an example of great flexibility. You will notice when I'm doing that the basic shape of my embouchure is staying the same. My chin is down, the corners of my mouth are in, so that I can move around on that reed as needed, depending on where I need to go intonationally. So I can have a great variation in pitch. Having that flexibility built into your embouchure, not feeling that your embouchure has to stay in one place to be in tune, having that flexibility so that you can use a feedback loop from your ear as to where you're sitting in terms of the ensemble. Are you sharp? Are you flat? What do you need to do in order to match those around you? Having this flexibility is really going to help you do that. The third tip that I would like to show you today has to do with how you incorporate intonation into your practicing. So this is something that is a part of my daily practice. What I like to do is have something that's consistent, recognizing that my body is inconsistent, my reed is inconsistent. My oboe has some consistency in it, much more than those other two things. But the thing that doesn't change is my reference pitch or my drones. So these don't change. And so I find it very beneficial. I'm just going to open up this drone. I find it very beneficial to play with a drone every day to remind myself where my pitch for that day is going to sit. This helps me get ready for rehearsal so that I can play with my lovely colleagues and play in tune. There are many things you can do with drones. One of my favorite things to do is to play a scale. So this is an F drone. I'm going to play an F major scale. So that's just a very short example of something that I would do in my practicing to help have reference for my intonation that day. If you have questions about what you can do in your daily practice to improve your intonation, I am giving very generalized tips because I'm not sure where you are in your journey on the instrument. And there's so many things that you can do depending on where you are on your journey that can help you with improving your intonation on the instrument. If you would like further information or are curious how I can personalize this to your exact situation, at the bottom of this live presentation is a link and you can book an absolutely free call with me. We'll chat for a little bit and I'll get a sense of where you are, and I will leave you with 3 actionable steps that you can take to improve your intonation on the oboe. Thank you so much for joining me today on 3 tips to improve your intonation. Take best care. Let's all become the oboe players that everyone wants to play with. Play with joy and ease. Bye now.